There's no way in hell I'm gonna be maxing out Osanna like ever. We've had so many dry patch that I've managed to build up 12 legendary Ibilimons to give to a unit that is essentially useless, right? But I'm not crazy enough to give her Divinance and Resonance. That's next level of dedication, which I'm not gonna go through. So this is pretty much a continuation to R2 Wenlock's showcase. So I mentioned in the previous video, when you run R2 Wenlock with Osanna, this will have 0 cooldown, so she can always just spam it every single turn, which is, the multiplier is not that bad. 165 times 2, that's around 300 and something, 330. And she also gets 200% attack from this one, right? Phantom Pain, which stacks up very slowly if you don't have her at R6. But if you do have her at R6, she gains faster Phantom Pain. But the amount of bleed stacks that she puts on the boss will most likely push out Defense Break and Seer and all that stuff, right? So this is the team I'm going with. I'm running Brewster, R6D6. We'll be comparing his damage to Osanna. And I have 0 speed on him. Just pump as much crit damage and attack as possible, because you don't need any crit rate when you run Wenlock in your team. And then we have Elaine with a lot of speed as well. And then I have Osanna with also the recurve set and a lot of speed as well. And then Sienna on the Ocean set, because I want her to give the attack buff, speed up buff, and also AP control. And I gave her attack piece, not speed. I don't want her to be too fast and hog all the turns. And then lastly, Wenlock will be on the Harmony set and counter. I already run this team a few times. It seems like it caps out at 25 million, which is not bad. There we go. And look at this. R0D0 Osanna does 12.2 million, whereas Brewster R6 and D6 does 7.5 million. That's pretty impressive. Alright, so the reason why you still want to run Elaine is because you can't, even with this team having, what, 4 AP controls? You still can't AP control Phobiter 100% of the time. He's just way too fast. And you need either a sleep debuff unit or a disease debuff. I tried with Embla. It worked pretty well. Around the same score. Okay, we got to 100 stacks at 55 turns. So we almost used half of the turn count in order to be at her full potential. So that's one problem of Osanna. She ramps up way too slow. And then also, if you have her at R6, she ramps up a little bit quicker, but her R6 just puts too many debuffs on the boss. Every single turn that she takes, she puts 8 bleed stacks, which means you only have 4 other slots for debuffs to land, and most likely your defense break or your seer debuff is going to go away. And look at how fast it is to replay, right? That took like, I don't know, 2 minutes to run, because this team has no pursuit except for Brewster. And here's another 23 million. And again, her damage is pretty surprising. 11 million compared to Brewster, which is only 7.4 million. And again, Brewster is R6D6. She is R0D0. Okay, let's compare her damage to R6D6 Daji. I'm using the same exact sets. And let's see if it's better or not. This is the best score I can get with Daji. 19.6 million. And Daji's damage is only 7.8 million. So R0D0 Osanna is doing way more damage than Daji. Okay, let's try it with Ophelia. But again, realistically, you're not going to be using Osanna anywhere else outside of Phobiter. And even still, in Phobiter, there's just way better options. I just want to see if she can compete with other like non-meta Espers, right? Okay, now let's compare to Ophelia. I am using a slightly different set. I think my last test on Ophelia with R2 Wenlock, it did about 11 million as well. Alright, 21.7 million. And Ophelia only did 9.3 million. Osanna R0D0 versus R6 and D5 Ophelia, and Osanna wins. That's pretty insane. At R0D0 with maximum passive, with attack buff, and with 40% attack lead, she will have a total of 15,370 attack. And if she's R6D6 with maximum passive, attack buff, and also attack lead, she will have a total of 21,233. Which means if we take this number and we divide it by the R0 stats, which is this one, we get an increase of her attack stats by 1.38 times. Which means if I take this number and multiply it by whatever damage she is doing right now at R0D0, I should get a somewhat close representation of what she would do at R6 and D6. 16 million, it's okay. It should be a little bit more than 16 million because the bleed stacks also is a factor to her damage, right? The higher attack that she has, the more damage the bleed stacks will do. So it's more like maybe 18 to 19 million at R6D6, which is okay. It's not good, it's not great. It's definitely not like Sloan level or Embla level, but it is something. It's still impressive because she is not a pursuit Esper. She is purely doing all of this damage during her turn, not outside of her turns, and she's able to compete with like R6D6 Brewster, even R6D6 Ggez as well. So if you don't have any options for like Forbiter teams and you have R2 Wenlock with R0D0 Osanna, it might be worth to run this team. But if you have Embla Fushi R6, Sloan at R2, and Elif R6, then you're not going to be using Osanna in any of the False Earth Fantasy bosses. So yeah, again, realistically, this is the only place that you're going to be seeing Osanna out DPSing Brewster and even Ggez. In every other content in the game, Brewster and Ggez will outperform Osanna in every possible way. Moral of the story, do not max out Osanna unless you have her at R6D6 and if you have a million ability mods to spare. That's about it, ciao.